Stanley Ipkiss, an alcoholic metaphor. Yes, you heard that right. Stanley Ipkiss, the character from The Mask, represents an alcoholic. The delirium tremens suggests that all the events in the film are fictional, a metaphor for alcohol addiction, depicted in a visually stunning manner. Once you see this parallel, it's hard to unsee it. Next time you're smiling in the mirror after a few drinks, remember old Stanley and say, "Cool." Let's break it down. At the beginning of the film, we see a nice guy with a good job living in a decent apartment. However, Stanley himself describes his situation as one where good guys always come last. Despite his outward appearance, he can't hide the fact that he's a complete loser who can't stand up for himself. He's mired in routine, watching cartoons after work with his dog. Lacking the courage to change his life, he turns to alcohol. On a particularly bad day, he gets scammed for money at a car service, thrown into a puddle, and his car stalls and falls apart. To top it off, he meets a girl he likes but doesn't have the courage to ask out, plunging him further into depression. This depression symbolizes his intoxication. When he drinks, everything suddenly becomes colorful and cheerful. He feels invulnerable, ready to take on the world. Stanley, emboldened by alcohol, goes to a showdown in the garage to get back at his abusers. The next morning, he suffers a full set of hangover symptoms, with the previous night's events seeming like a vague dream. He's late for work and apologizes to his boss, Mr. Dickey, saying it won't happen again, though he's clearly caught in a cycle. That night, he can't stop thinking about the girl he met. Lacking courage once again, he turns to alcohol, thinking maybe this time he'll ask her out. With a drink in hand, he gets dressed for the night, feeling irresistible. He dances and has fun at the club, but the next morning, he wakes up with a hangover and a bottle in his hand. Late for work by a whole hour, Stanley Ipkiss looks like he's running on fumes. His alcohol addiction begins to affect his social life. He yells at his boss, "I have to measure up to this? Fuck off." It's not hard for a monkey to sleep here. On the first floor of his house, there's an alcohol market with delivery. Like many, Stanley tries to seek help and goes to a doctor who specializes in addiction. The doctor suggests placing him in a sobering up station. "If you want me to get you to a safe place, I can, or I can set up a meeting with Tina." But Stanley, not daring to confess his feelings, drinks again for courage. Trying to deal with his former self, he jumps behind the cocktail counter, emerging invulnerable and irresistible. Alcohol can be a funny thing. It can help one relax and unwind, but one must not forget how dangerous it can be. In the end, Stanley decides to quit drinking. He confesses his feelings, and now has the courage and fortitude to solve his problems without alcohol. In the film, we see people putting on a mask by drinking alcohol before a party. They need to change for the party, and alcohol reveals and affects everyone in different ways. Some people become more confident, some dance, and some lose control completely. And of course, who among us hasn't smiled at themselves in the mirror while drunk, feeling irresistible? I won't delve into the conventions of why no one recognizes Stanley in The Mask, but it's clear that alcohol changes how we perceive ourselves and how others perceive us. The whole film is a metaphor, an allegory. That's exactly what the doctor in the story is talking about. You shouldn't take metaphors literally. When someone is dealing with alcohol, it's like wearing a mask. Alcohol is the same mask from the movie. If at heart you are a hopeless romantic like Stanley, it will reveal and exaggerate that part of you. But for some reason, I never thought about the reverse side of the film, The Mask, being about alcohol. When I came across a small post on Reddit about this idea, it hit me hard. Why do I remember the mask when I see someone drunk, but not when I look at the mask itself? Now, it's impossible to unsee. If there is some kind of moral lesson here, it's that while this is just a theory, I try to wear my true face as often as possible, and only wear the mask for special occasions. Thanks for watching.